Good morning, everybody. You're tuned to Computers 2K now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next couple of hours, along with Nick.
Hi.
Hi.
What's up?
And Mike is here.
Hi.
And Gal is here.
Hi.
Spence is in Alaska.
Hello.
Our number is 919-518-9773, Computers 2K Voice on Skype. And today's show is made possible by VMix Software, Telestream's Wirecast software, and is sponsored by Tom Sinclair of Live Streaming Gear. So what's going on?
Hasn't Tom flipped primarily to vMix now?
Only, yeah. That's not primary. That's it.
Then you need to look at your opening sequence.
Why?
Does it say that Vid Blaster go?
No, it's close. Telestream, Wirecast.
Oh no, I mean they're also
well, he can't
sponsored,
be
but
exclusively vMix and also Telestream.
no, not him. I mean, remember the restreaming machine is running Wirecast, which Telestream gave me.
Got
So
it.
I give them credit for that.
Yes, we give them $10,000 worth of value for that.
Well, I mean, come on.
Hey, we're glad to do it. They were good to us.
Yep,
They were.
exactly. Exactly. So, there's something about when we're talking technology.
Well,
This
this
was
is
an
not a
article here. It
technology show.
says,
This is a dating show.
Oh man, I'm in the wrong place.
That's fact.
tech unemployment hasn't been this low since the turn of the century.
Now, see, there you go. That darn Trump has gone ahead and caused
I mean, causing
all these companies to go through the roof. That piece of crap.
so this is according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics.
Well, who are they? Orange
As
man bad.
as of May, tech's unemployment rate set at 1.3%. There is now the very real prospect of tech worker shortages affecting industry growth. This is from Tim Herbert, Executive Vice President for Research and Market Intelligence at CompTIA. Firms seeking to expand into new areas such as the Internet of Things, robotic process automations, or artificial intelligence may be inhibited by the lack of workers with these advanced skills, not to mention shortage in the complementary areas of technology infrastructure and cybersecurity. So there was, I mean, a few years ago, we were talking about everybody is going into computers, computer science, computer this, computer that, and there was a glut. What, Mike?
I would never said that. Well, there is such a dearth right now of people with any technical skills. It's in a crisis proportion. We may have talked about kids knowing
Yeah.
computers and being comfortable with them, but not at the college level. That's just not true. People don't want to do math. I mean, Nick's a math expert, but very few people want to do math. And you have to have that for computers and technology. But
Why are you making fun of my disability? I don't appreciate that.
well, that's your problem.
No. You can't sit here and shame me. This is 2019.
What I just said, you're a math
You're
expert. What are you
shaming me. Shame.
shaming you?
Amnon,
Calling you
I
an
want him banned
expert.
from the show.
All
Shame.
right, goodbye.
Shame. Shame.
Now there were a lot of people that were trying to go to these
These like
uh
trade schools like
trade
ITT Tech.
schools. Yeah, the
Yeah, but those schools all didn't all those shut down?
a lot of them did. But the
Yeah.
point is that we thought that the only way to make sure that a kid is going to be able to get a job is to get him somehow into computers.
What what was the field
And
again that they said?
right now, what they're looking for is, I mean, well, not what they're looking for. What they can't find is Internet of Things, robotic process automation, or artificial intelligence, and the complementary areas of technology infrastructure and cybersecurity. I
Yes,
believe that,
cybersecurity be a big one.
yeah, big one.
But that's a subset of all of the above. It's
Yeah,
keeping
Yeah.
all of the above secure. So it's more broad based than the issue is that we need more students in STEM, science,
right.
technology, engineering, mathematics. It is a crisis proportion. 80% of the technology students in the United States in college and postgraduate work are from out of the country. 80%.
Yeah, yeah. I
Why?
mean, it was amazing uh, when we went to Hannah's graduation at NC State, and electrical engineering and computer engineering is the same department. And it is just amazing how few American names, Western names, you would hear announced when they come up. Most of the people are from India, from Africa, from,
China,
huh?
China.
China. I mean, anywhere but the US. It is just amazing. And
What's the problem?
especially the higher ones, like Mike
You're not
said.
gonna like the answer, Nick.
What?
You're not going to like the answer.
What's the problem? These
Americans are lazy. They've been lazy. It's too easy to make a living. It's too easy to get mommy and daddy to give you a new car every time you want one.
Yeah, okay, there's a small subset of that. Fine, I'll give you that. But what's the most of these jobs? I would say almost all of these jobs. God, maybe you've got some insight on this. Are in the technology field are for the most part very good salaries. In a lot of cases, if you're working for a larger company, you've got great benefits. What's the problem? These aren't ditch digging or sucking literal uh, waste out of sewers. I mean, you're talking about a lot of these jobs are pretty strict scheduled with their 9 to 5s with technology. What's the problem?
$150,000 a year,
What's the
typical
problem?
salary. You tell me, why didn't you do it?
I could have done it. I had another
I know you
that's
could have. The question is, why didn't you?
because another opportunity popped up.
Okay, there's your answer. There
Yeah,
there
but
the ans there are many, many answers to the question.
yeah, I mean,
But
another
in many
opportunity popped
cases,
up.
look, I've got a degree in electrical engineering from NC State University, one of the top 10 electrical engineering schools in the country at the time. All right. It was not easy. It was very, very tough. And I held on by the skin of my teeth. But the fact of the matter is that a lot of people don't want to do the work. For example, when I was enrolled in the school, they immediately, I don't know what it's like now. This was the 70s, but now they immediately put you through some really tough engineering courses because they want to weed out the people who can't or won't do the work. I do not believe that the number of people today who can't do the work has increased. I don't think people have gotten stupid. I think they've gotten lazy.
So I wonder what they're doing instead.
I can tell you what they're doing. They're having to train people from other countries and trying to induce them to relocate to the United States, and they don't all do that right now. Just in fact, this last week, may have been 2 weeks ago, there's a new statistic that now China is in a panic that they don't have enough engineers.
Things are
Here's
moving here.
what's the number one reason, in your opinion, Nick, that more people don't go to college?
Um,
It's hard.
in my opinion would be cost, but
Correct.
my opinion is probably not necessarily. No, I would actually though agree with Amnon. Most people would say it's because it's hard.
Okay, then that's laziness. That's one argument. The other is
Yeah.
cost.
Yeah, I would
And
say cost. I think a lot of people would say late.
if you get a
Hard.
4-year degree in electrical or mechanical, not mechanical necessarily, or materials engineering, my company will pay for your PhD. all
That's
4
pretty cool.
all 4 years.
I mean, but how do people don't know about that, Mike? How does that get
Well,
publicized?
I can't help them.
Well, you
It's
you
well
you
known in the industry. We deal
Mhm.
with 250 universities.
Yeah.
You go to financial aid office and they say, "I can't I wanna get my PhD, but I can't afford it." "Oh, call these people." So it's very well known out there,
So your company would pay for somebody's full PhD.
including the living stipend and everything.
Wow, that's pretty incredible.
But
How many
that's
do
but
you know how many people a year you do that for?
I have no idea.
but
Could
that's
you is that something you could find out?
I'm sure I could.
I'd be curious.
You remind me during the week, I'll ask our lady who handles the education stuff.
Yeah, I'd be very interested.
Mike
Sorry, Emma.
Mike, you're talking about after they got their bachelor.
Sure, you've got to be able to prove that you can
Right.
at least get a bachelor's degree if
Yeah.
you're gonna get a free ride to a PhD.
Yeah.
Yes, you're correct.
Hmm.
Well, that's a big I mean, there were in contrast, what I was gonna say, most of the bachelors, the one that graduated the 4 years, were Americans, but nearly 100% of the masters and the PhDs were foreigners
Or have foreign names.
or have
Many of
foreign
them
names.
have immigrated to the United States.
That's true, but
I
it's
just
still
I wonder why. I wonder what the actual problem is. I mean, I know the cost obviously is an issue, but
Why are not more people going into science, technology,
yeah, I mean,
engineering, and math?
I mean, you c say what you I mean, I know what you said about my situation, but I mean, I guess I technically have a STEM associate's degree. It's a computer
Agreed,
science degree. So,
agreed, but you're
well,
of
I
no
mean,
value to Intel,
that no, that's true. That is absolutely true.
except as a consumer, and they're glad to have you.
No, no more AMD is my favorite. I wonder what the problem is. I mean, I
I'm
would have
telling you, but people don't wanna admit it, but I told you what the problem is.
yeah. I mean, so Mike, if this so you asked me if this situation down here didn't open up like it did 2 years ago,
Mhm.
likely would have I likely would have gotten a computer science degree from probably the University of Albany or Siena College. That's probably what I would have done, maybe.
Then I'm sorry you took this position,
Why?
because a 4 you should and
Well,
still should proceed with a
uh,
4-year
and
degree.
I still can. Fortunately, I
Agreed.
still do that. But I probably would have done that in something in computer science, and then m maybe have applied for a job with the state of New York. Maybe. I don't know. That
Well,
would have
I'd do
been
better than that.
that would have been a career path that
Yeah, I'd do better than that, but,
well, I don't know how you can knock that. I mean
I'm not knocking it,
well,
I'm
I
just
mean, you
saying
kind of
that
are knocking it.
no, I'm not knocking it. You wanna make 80,000, you wanna make 150,
Well, I don't you should
doing the same work,
check out what those jobs are paying.
doing the same work. I just looked at the salary of a particular attorney who is a deputy general counsel in the state of North Carolina. That I looked up to see what she was making. I hadn't talked to her earlier in the week. She's making 80,000 a year.
Okay. Well, maybe she's happy
I
with
thought
$80,000 a year.
she is an accomplished attorney.
Okay.
so you are actually
Engineers are
knocking it.
making what I'm not knocking. What I'm saying is that there are engineers starting higher than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's all relative.
Yeah, her brother probably works in the same field. That would be her relative. Never mind. Where's my rim shot?
No. Anyway, that's it. It's just interesting. So if you if you have a kid that is not afraid of math and STEM in general, that you should do everything you can to get them into school to get into these
My son had no
fields.
interest at all going to STEM, get a STEM education. It just he wasn't interested. It didn't appeal to him. He did get interested in computers and he's become fairly good at it.
Mhm.
But that's just as a hobby. He doesn't want to go out and do it for a living and take the fun out of it. Contrast that with Amnon's daughter. She's doing extremely well becoming an electrical engineer at NC State. What motivated her to do it? You talk about being different. I mean, how many female classmates does she have, Amnon?
I don't know. I think they
Count
had
them on
about
one hand?
9 of them.
Yeah,
Um,
there just aren't many. And you talk about instant job placement. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she was offered quite a few jobs, but she decided she wants to go for a master's and PhD, and when the school pays for it, she's happy. I mean, she graduates and it's time to get on Social Security.
There you go. Well, she's in favor of that, so
Oh,
Here's
But
something I
that
here's something I don't get about uh, the need of the academia to provide these workers. Academia isn't suited for real life application
why?
research.
because academia is about academia. It's like you need to publish your papers, you need to appeal to your peers, but not to real life.
Well,
It's like
disagree.
it's a separate reality.
I disagree. My entire business, my whole livelihood is sponsoring research at universities. That's what I do for a living.
Okay, but I think you will also agree that in your case it's a niche situation. It's not like every business out there, and the people who are saying that they are lacking engineering, that the engineering task force, the people who can do the work, right? Is academia the only place where they can come from?
No, they do a lot of their own research, but our company does what's called pre-competitive research, where arch rival competitors get together and share the cost of doing research that benefits everyone and is not really desired by any particular member of the company as being a competitive advantage. So what that means is they take the research that we do and then they say, well, wait a minute, this gives me an idea. If we put this into this other idea that we have and we will develop in our own lab, then we will beat the next nearest competitor to the market with a better product at a lower price, what have you. So it's a research covers a very, very broad spectrum, and we are on the very first end of it. A lot of the research we do is the benefits are 5 or more years away, which is kind of hard to capture sometimes. But uh, I'm just telling you that a lot of academia, a lot of the professors in academia will go to work with commercial companies in their labs doing research. You often will have people in the companies who get burnt out and they go into academia and they want to teach and do research at a much slower pace.
Right, but what started the conversation was basically, right, that the workforce is missing a lot of STEM workers.
That is it's more the feeder that's out there than it is the number of workers presently there. They're looking 5 and 10 years in the future. I mean, if you make up some stupid numbers, if you got 10,000 STEM students in 1975, then in 1985, you can sort of predict how many you're gonna have. If you've got, uh 15,000 in 2015 and you need 20,000 in 2025, that's just arithmetic to tell you there is a problem. And that's what the problem is. The pipeline is running out. The number of people, I mean, there are companies that are actually moving this increasing STEM effort down to elementary school. How do we get fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth graders interested in math? If you can just get them interested in math and science, then the ones who are ultimately interested in STEM will gravitate that way on their own. We even have programs where we pay for people to get a 4-year degree in STEM because they for some reason appear to be rock stars. It's the feeder that's the problem today, not so much that Texas Instruments can't develop a new product because they don't have an engineer. It's that certain companies I won't call by name has a 40% turnover rate because they're burning out their engineers. They got them working 80 hours a week.
Why would you wanna go in that field?
I wouldn't.
Well,
But see, that's another part of the question. Who wants to do what it takes to get a STEM degree, go get your PhD, and go to work for a company working 80 hours a week with a 40 80 hours a week with a 40% turnover rate? And the answer to the question is that it's a gigantic company with good pay, good benefits, but they have others that a lot of people are actually bypassing them and going to their competitors because it's more lifestyle friendly.
I think that might be a big problem in the IT computer science,
Well,
your
it's only
lifestyle.
one, it's really only one. Most of the other companies are better, much better
Well,
than
I
that.
would say, but in a lot, so I don't know if the video game industry is considered part of STEM. I would say it is. That industry has been known to be very rough on its employees. There's a lot of crunch that goes on. They set hard deadlines for a game release or some type of update, and if the team has not gotten to that point, well, you're working 80 hours a week for 2 months to get the problem solved.
Let me tell you what happened. But Dave Ramsey used to have his own forum that he managed on his own server. You even had to pay to participate in it. And back way a number of years ago, I was participating in it. After you participate on these things after a while, even though people use pseudonyms, you eventually get to know who knows what they're talking about, who doesn't. And there was this one lady who would post things, and she kind of got under my skin a little bit because most people are like they are in the Dave Ramsey Facebook group now. I'm trying to figure out how many hours a day I can run my air conditioner to keep my power bill down so that we'll have enough money to build up our $1,000 emergency fund by the end of next year. And this lady's posted some things in there that clearly she didn't have money problems. So I don't know, something came up and we would all private message each other. And I finally one day just kind of got annoyed by it. And I sent her a private message. I don't even remember her name. Sent her a private message and I said, something's not adding up here. I'm not sure why you're in this group. Well, why do you say that? And I said, because clearly you've got a situation where you have money. So she started talking a little bit and she sort of loosened up a little bit. And so I said, why do you spend so much time here? And she said, well, and I must have hit her on a day that she had to unload on somebody because then she unloaded on stuff that just you don't say to people you don't know. But she said, well, my husband works all the time and I have nothing to do but sit here and take care of the kids and I'm pregnant again. And so she said, "This is how I spend my time." And she said, "If I can help other people, and I will." I said, and I told her, I said, "Well, it's clear that whatever your husband does," I said, "you're doing. I don't know whether you work, but you're actually doing fine." She said, "Yeah, we're doing really well." And then I don't know if it was later at some point, but the bottom line is, it turns out that he is a game designer, works for one of the major games that you probably play or have played in the past. I know I remember I think I remember the name of the company, but I don't know any of the games that he worked on. But it turns out that he's working 80 plus hours a week. She was sitting there at the house by herself, tired of being by herself. They own 3 houses, all paid for. The college ed, they had funds for their current kid and their young kid on the way. They had fully funded college funds for them. And so finally one day she suggested that her husband had uh, made a lot of money, and I said more than 6 figures. I mean, you just got to start somewhere. She said no, more than seven. And I said, 7 is $1 million. She said, yes, he makes more than $2 million a year.
Wow.
And I said, and you want him to quit and stay home with you? She said, yes. I was okay, do it.
Well, different priorities.
But he was gone all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very difficult for a marriage to survive something like that.
Yep. Absolutely.
I think there's a lot more of that in this field, though.
In which field?
In the STEM field, you get some type of, a cybersecurity, some type of well, something in that field. I mean, God, I don't know what your work schedule is. You work in the security field a little bit, yeah?
Yeah.
Or do you I mean, are there ever situations where you're called out to handle things and odd hours of the day and or night? Holidays,
Well,
stuff like that?
not me, but I can
Okay,
tell you that some of our engineers, uh, they're abroad, most of them,
okay.
and they do have stressful hours. Again, it really depends on what's on the table right now, and it goes up and down. But yeah, it can be tough. I can tell you that those who work the hardest are top brass, are the people who have been with the company for a while and are in higher up positions, and they get the calls at the middle of the night. Um, Luckily, I'm in a completely different position. When I'm
What kind of
home,
money do they make?
I'm guessing they make very good money. I have
Is
no
it
idea.
very good? 100? Is it 500? Is it 1,000,000?
I don't think it's even close to a million. Don't know
500?
how. I don't know how far from 100 they are. I have no
Right.
idea.
Okay. But I know a lot of people in this field who don't do squat,
Yeah, well, I'm lucky. I mean, I'm in what's considered a successful company.
and you
But
don't have to do anything.
what do you mean?
That was a joke. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I'm really lucky, but because the companies I've been working with up until this one, right? I always call them they talk the talk, they never walk the walk, right? The disparity between promise and execution was so far away. This one was different from the moment I came in. And I came in where there was what 250 employees, right? Companies today way past 1,500.
Wow.
So yeah,
But
and they're
things change.
growing.
In fact, what you bring up a really good point, even if you didn't mean to. Another reason that a lot of people don't go into the science and technology is because they may have a family member who's working for one of these companies that works them 80 hours a week, and they say, "I don't want that.
Oh yeah,
That's not what I want." And I will tell you, people ask me, "Is such and such company a good one to work for?" And I said, "Well, you really can't ask that question. You can ask what kind of benefits they have, what's their culture, but the reality is that the quality of your job is based an awful lot on who your boss is."
yeah.
Because I know of a very, very good company here that a lot of people think's a great company to work for, but I can tell you people who detest working there because they've got a boss who's an idiot,
Oh yeah, I agree. I agree. It has
and
to
it can
do.
change. It can
It's,
change. I mean,
it has to do with people. It has to do with so much. So yeah. So objectively, you can only answer about benefits and the salary you get, but it's always the culture and the people inside that really counts. Yeah, for the long run, anyway.
my daughter has a friend who went to work with a company, and I mean, I don't try to be negative about it, but I told this friend, I said, companies are usually good for about 6 months. I mean, hey, I'm thrilled. I'm happy to be here. It's wonderful. But I will tell you that after a while, the old saying, familiarity breeds contempt. And after a while, you get comfortable there. You learn who's doing what. People stop using their best behavior. And after about 6 months, it becomes just like every other company. If you ever are with a company that you make it to 1 year and you're still in the honeymoon period, you just scored a home run. Some people do it, and it's very rare and it's very desirable. If you ever get to that point, then you're in good shape. Now, this person went to work for this company, and she was after she'd been there a year. She said, "Yep, still thrilled with it. I love my job. I love getting up, going to work, doing my job." I said, "That is fantastic." Year and a half, same thing. Then the boom fell. Now she absolutely hates going to work there. She can't get return phone calls from people when she needs it. They are not giving her the direction she needs to do it, and she is now out looking for another job. In fact, she's probably already found one. She's consistently highly rated with her company, and when she leaves, they're going to say, "What happened?"
Well, it is what it is. I'm with you on that. It's really rare. The company I worked for before this one, I was with them 3 years, and the first year was fantastic, and the second year was fantastic. But then things changed. With this company, it's it's completely different. It has been completely different for me, and I can tell you that I'm probably uh, I'm a complacent type of person. If things work out for me, I'm okay. I've seen people shift in and out, but I can say for This is the only place where I've seen employees who have left in good terms. Just to broaden their career, try different paths. Explore some other successes. They were successful within here. They moved out and they come back. And this is the only place I've worked where I've seen this.
I would
So,
never if I ran your company, I would never hire anyone back. The reason why is statistically, think about this just a second, because if it's working for your company, it is a real anomaly. Because nationwide, statistically, if you rehire someone, that usually works out 6% of the time.
well, I can tell you that the people that have been and I'm talking key people. I'm talking people,
Absolutely.
right?
Sure.
The people who came back, they came back in, I would say, I don't think higher level is the way I would describe it, but in like advanced positions, and they usually outperform anything they've done before. So
I would
that,
tell you that that's a very unique situation,
yeah,
and that what you just said to me is people who are not satisfied with their position in the company need to leave and be lured back to get a promotion.
um, so that's what I thought at first, right? But the few people that I've seen this happen with them, it wasn't about them being lured back. It was about something about the internal culture, right? About allowing everyone to do their own mistakes. And when they come back, they're not being punished for it. That's all. So if you were if you were valuable before, right, and the value was apparent, yeah, definitely you have a chance back. On the other hand, I've seen people who tried to come back, and as you said, they were no longer a match. They were no longer a fit. But that was in lower positions.
No, I understand what you're saying, and I'm not I speak in generalities. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't even know who you work for, what the culture is. But I would also suggest that the mere idea that they would allow these people to come back is less of a deterrent to them leaving. If they had a policy that if you leave, you never come back, these people might think it through before they leave and work to stay and improve the position where they are. I mean, that's
So,
theoretically what may happen. Who knows what the real life implementation is?
yeah. Well, I think the people who left, they left for adventures, right? They didn't leave because another company just snagged them because they made them an excellent offer or something like that. I think the reality is when you grow a culture of trust, and it's a bit like raising a family. So when your kids are big enough, you do want them sometimes, right? You do want them to step out the door and take their own steps. But yeah,
Um,
I,
but
I'm
let
with
me
you.
but let me ask it this way, Gall, and I'm really not being funny when I say this. I'm just trying to create an analogy. It may not be, it's not the same thing, but it's probably not as far fetched as it'll sound. So, what if you decide that you're tired of being married and you want some adventure and you're going to go out and get adventure?
Doesn't work in our world,
Should your wife take you back? I would say she ought to kick your butt to the curb. You have a vow, you have a relationship, you break it, you're on your own.
but that's a vow.
Well,
That's not career. That's different.
I'm not so sure that there are not a lot of, I mean, if we weren't on the air, I'd have some interesting comebacks to that. But the fact of the matter is, they are commitments. They are not the same commitment. I'm not suggesting that by any stretch of the imagination. Although some companies think you owe more to the company than you do to your marriage.
Right, right. But that's the thing, right? Sometimes the change comes from family. So if you put family first, even in a company, and you do it right, you're not losing, right? You're allowing your people to be successful both in the field of family and in your career. It's all about balance, it's all about trust. So if the trust exists and it works, great. if it was an issue of mistrust, I completely agree with you. If somebody, takes your, turns their back on you, and then after a year or two comes back and says, "Hey, I was wrong." No, I wouldn't let them in, and I don't think our company would either. But if if you send out somebody with ambitions, and you know that he can fill them, and you know he's made to succeed, but after doing that he is not satisfied and he wants to come back, hey, I say, maybe it was a good experience.
What you have to ask yourself, and then we'll move on. What you have to ask yourself is the reason that this person left still present? And that is if they left because they didn't like management, if they left because they didn't perceive the company going anywhere, if they left because they didn't perceive any opportunity for advancement, that is, if they have a bad taste about the company in their mouths, I wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole.
You're right.
Those
You're right.
reasons are not going to change at a macro level.
You're right. And the key phrase here is only if they left in good terms. Only if they really
Oh,
left.
sure,
Yeah.
of course.
So that of course that's key. That's key. That's always. If you don't, it's more than not burning a bridge. It's living on good terms. It's
Well, I'm
it's
impressed
different.
that you work with a company that you appreciate that much about. I mean, that's great, and that's what everybody should work for.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, I consider myself very lucky. Uh,
Well,
I've seen a lot of different types of organizations, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, and when you fall on something unique, because then if you don't identify it, then that's too bad.
Well, I think we all need to go to work for Amnon.
mhm.
Oh, I agree. I agree.
Yeah. Sure. Absolutely.
Hey, look at
I
me.
need I need the grass cut. I need the trash picked up.
Don't do grass, don't do trash.
Anyway,
I'll supervise Nick and Gall.
I don't wanna work for Mike. He's offensive.
Mm, you have no idea.
He's
alright.
shaming me.
Slave
So
driver.
here's something. Let's take it a different direction. Netflix. So its first ever decline in paid US subscribers in the second quarter,
Uh-oh.
losing 126,000 US users when Wall Street was expecting 352,000 domestic ads,
Hmm.
which sent the company stock tumbling over 10% in after hours trading last week or the week before. I don't know when it was. But they lost a bunch. Not only Netflix, but where was it? AT&T.
Wait a minute, didn't Netflix raise their prices or something? I know they did some really stupid things politically that are catching up with them, but
Maybe
was that particular change tied to an event? Or did they admit to it being an event that tied? I mean,
they did
they
not
raised the
say.
price recently?
They did not even say why in the article.
Well,
They
there
raised
has
their
to
prices
be.
well before quarter 2 of this year. That was mid last year when they made it $12.99 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't know, but the thing is that they lost. I mean, and this is, remember, this is Wall Street thought that it should be 352, and they did not add that much. I don't know how. I'm not into all these. Uh,
Well, when an analyst in Wall Street, when more than one analyst in Wall Street predict something and it doesn't come true, your stock goes down. That's the way it works.
Yeah.
well, so
These are the same people who predicted Hillary would win.
Yes, these are the same people who didn't see the crash. These are the same people who saw the bubble about to burst but didn't. Right? It's all that.
but here is this too. AT&T lost 946,000 TV subscribers in the second quarter of 2019.
They're happy about that.
How many?
Almost a
940,
million.
almost a million. 946,000.
How is
They're
that
trying to get
possible?
out of they're trying to get out of the TV business.
Oh, they must be moving everybody over to DirecTV.
They're
I don't
losing that too.
wait, hold it here. A loss that the company attributed to price increases,
Yep.
competition, and other factors.
Anything but
AT&T
bad management.
AT&T reported a net loss of 778,000 subscribers in the premium TV category, which includes its DirecTV satellite and Uverse wireline TV services. AT&T attributed this loss to an increase in customers rolling off promotional discounts, competition, and lower gross ads, ADDS, due to a focus on long-term value customer base.
Yeah, all right.
They also lost 168,000 subscribers of DirecTV Now, an online service with linear channels that's similar to traditional satellite and cable TV. AT&T said the DirecTV Now customer loss was due to higher prices and less promotional activity, meaning that customers have balked at price increases and a refusal to extend discounts. So they're losing in every part of this service. But to lose 946,000 subscribers, that's big. I mean, maybe for AT&T it's not a big deal. I don't know
No,
how
it's
many
because of
they.
the economy. The economy's in such bad shape. That's what the executives will blame.
Yeah, I find it interesting. Normally, competition helps the consumer out. That's like
Right.
95% of the cases. All of these streaming services have done nothing but screw the consumers. It's pretty interesting. This is definitely one of the exemptions to the broad brush paint of competition heeds better, cheaper
Mm-mm,
products.
it's not an exception. It's because we've got too much collusion going on. They've got these programming providers that are colluding with each others to I mean, all this sports crap that I have to pay for and never watch, that's because they've got deals with all the cable companies that, "Oh, yeah, you're gonna provide it and pay for it, or we're not gonna let you have it at all." "Oh, well, we've got 15% of our audience that has to have it or they won't subscribe." So, I mean, there's a lot of collusion going on.
Well, it doesn't matter. It's still screwing the consumer.
Yeah.
What
I
I'm
mean,
telling you is that's what's called crony capitalism. Free capitalism, it would work like you're talking about. The problem is that it's very difficult to have free capitalism because of all the cronyism and corruption that's going. It's right. It's like Brian said. Maybe it's the Russians doing it.
I just think it's interesting, especially these streaming services. Netflix, when it came out, was such a great service. It really was untested, undone, and now literally everybody and their brother that creates media has got their own service, and it's done nothing but hurt the
Think
consumer.
about that too, Nick. There was the article that posted recently. A guy named anybody remember the name Brian Lozier? You wouldn't, Nick,
No.
but Brian Lozier on CNN. This was a very good news guy. He was. You watch him, you could listen to what he says, believe what he says. I think he left CNN in probably 88, 87, 88, somewhere along. He just passed away is the reason he was in the news. And we used to think back how I mean, CNN was the thing. You could enjoy watching CNN. You could turn it on, you could figure out where you are. News every 30 minutes. You know what in 30 minutes, you know what's going on around the world. And now it's just pure tripe, pure garbage. I mean, I object to having to pay for it on my cable system.
Yeah, but that's not that doesn't necessarily follow that same thing of streaming services.
Well, I think that, but let me ask a question about that because I'm sort of curious that the article that Amnon read, I don't recall him saying anything about people cord cutting.
Well, yeah, they
No,
did
it
cord
did
cut.
not mention. It did not mention that.
Well,
Oh,
that's probably the biggest effort, and that they're
Yeah.
lumping that in cost.
yeah, but it's interesting though that AT&T, which is DirecTV, is losing not just physical either DirecTV or AT&T Uverse subscribers, but they're also losing DirecTV Now, which is their cord cutting solution. They lost what 150,000 subscribers to that.
Mhm.
that's a big number. That service doesn't have that many subscribers in comparison to DirecTV
Yeah, it
or
all in this case here, it all has to do with pricing, and because their promotions rolled back, now there's no more promotion, and AT&T is refusing to extend
well,
those
they've
promotions
screwed
to.
themselves with that.
I know.
Every time you call and wanna cancel, they give you a promotion. Then when they stop, guess what? People actually
Bye.
cancel.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's
and who
and
knows? Some of these people may have gone cord cutting. Some of these people may have gone to other providers like
Google.
Spectrum or whoever.
I mean, how's Google doing? I mean, that party, it would be interesting to know if Google has picked up 1 million new customers. If there are people like the Google fiber is in my street, it's in front. I walk out of my front yard and touch the Google fiber trench, but it's not available here. I mean, don't even, there are people saying that they'll put the fiber in the ground and never even light it up. They're doing such stupid things, and but I would be curious as to whether they are even a factor yet. And I don't care because I'm not going to switch to it. I mean, I get 600 megabits up, down, and probably 300 up reliably, and that's enough for what I do. And so Google 950 up and down consistent, it's attractive, but not so much that I'm going to pay more for it. And plus, AT&T keeps trying to raise my bill, and I call and cancel, and they say, "Oh, no, 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 we'll keep it." And
what happens when they don't?
out the door,
Oh, yeah, so there you go. So you've just
out the door,
there's the answer to the question. It's
out the
exactly what
door.
you just described, and they're
I
not
will
doing
be
that.
in I will be in a heck of a lot better position once Google is available at my house, because I would pay a little bit more for faster service from Google just because I'd like to try it. But there are no contracts and I can always go back. So we'll see. Alan asked an interesting question without getting too far off this, but what do you consider the United States' biggest bully media company? And I'll tell you that as far as the most ridiculous, it's between CNN and MSNBC. I mean, they are so far out of whack, but their viewerships are so low, they're so irrelevant that they are not a big bully. And as far as the NBC, CBS, ABC, honest to God, I don't even know who the evening news anchors are on those stations, on those networks anymore. I could not tell you. The only one I could even think of is the guy on NBC. Um,
Yeah, but you're not a
hang on a
good
second, African American guy. What's his name?
Holt.
Lester Holt.
Holt, Lester Holt. Because and the only reason I know his name is because he sticks his nose in on every new episode of Dateline NBC, which I watch and will watch until they go political on it, and then I'll quit watching that. But having said that, I don't know what they do. So I don't know which. I mean, the newspapers are out. There was a funny little ad on Rush Limbaugh a few years ago. Somebody says, "Hi, I'd like to buy what was it, Time Magazine." Well, how much is it? And well, it's $1. Well, that's a discount because you normally charge $1.95 for issue. No, no, no. That's for the company. The issues are still $1.95, but if you want to buy the company, it's $1. And I mean, these media companies that were these giant magnets and had so much influence, they just don't anymore. The problem is that those of us who disagree with them have is that every single network is the same way. So even though one of them individually doesn't have that much power, you change the channel and you're getting the same echo chamber on every channel. I don't know. I think it's an issue, a conglomerate collective type issue. I don't know which company is considered the biggest bully. What do you guys think?
Be AT&T.
Why?
100%.
Why?
They own Warner Media. I mean, shit, they produce
Okay, so who what if I go watch TV right now, then what services does AT&T own that are going to sit here and call me a loser?
I'm pretty sure they own I'm pretty sure they own CNN. They own, all of not Time Warner, the cable company, but
Media.
Time Warner Media. Yeah, I mean, they would definitely be AT&T. They own a whole bunch of newspapers. Yeah, that's I mean, if you
I
were
don't
talking
care
about
about newspapers, they're
well,
irrelevant.
it doesn't matter if you think it's irrelevant. It's a big media company. It's AT&T. 100%.
Yeah, I mean AT&T I understand, but not newspapers. I mean they're dead. I mean,
Okay, well, then I guess I don't have a response then.
No, but that's exactly my response. I don't know the answer to that question. And I used to say Time Warner because they're so vicious, but that really is still CNN, who's down now. They have 10% of the audience that Sean Hannity does.
And there's a good reason.
Well,
Yeah. All right. Um, talking more about media and stuff. With more streaming services coming from Warner Media, Apple and Disney, from Warner Media, Apple and Disney, it has people wishing for a single plan to get access to all of them. A new survey from Morning Consult in conjunction with the Hollywood Reporter polled consumers to see how much they'd be willing to pay for access to all their favorite video streaming services. The research revealed that most consumers would like to pay between $17 and $27. Many Americans who stream media pay for 3 services at a collective of $37 per month. Though the optimum price for wooing far more households to multiple streamers is a combined $21 a month. That's what they found out in the poll. The acceptable range consumers would like to pay for all their streaming offerings is 17 to 27, which the poll uses the Van Westrop door model, which seeks to locate the sweet spot in pricing between what consumer deemed too good to be true and too expensive. Unwelcome news for Warner Media, since its coming product dubbed HBO Max is expected to cost consumers as much as $17 monthly, whereas Disney service called Disney Plus will run only $7 monthly when it kicks off in November. Netflix has an $8.99 basic plan and $12.99 standard. The poll shows that consumers are willing to pay much more for their cable TV package than they are for streaming, as the poll indicate that 90% of US subscribers pay more than $50 a month for their service. Now, the poll also found that 26% of adult Americans have heard nothing at all about Disney Plus, according to the Hollywood Reporter. I don't trust such a name, Hollywood Reporter. About
yeah, sure.
35%. What'd you say, Mike?
Nothing. Go ahead.
About 35% of American adults have heard nothing of Apple's incoming product, while 40% haven't heard of Warner Media's plans, and 46% haven't heard of NBCU's, whatever that NBCU is. I know that we're paying Time Warner. I mean, Spectrum. I don't know how much it is for the TV, but Kathy cannot get used to. She's getting better and better at it, thanks to Gal and Netflix. And I may be able to completely cut the cord one of these days, but definitely paying more than $50 a month for TV. But most Americans want it to be between 17 and 27. Is this something that I think that's sustainable
17 to $27 a month for what? For all their TV?
for all their favorite TV? Yeah,
Right. We're paying, what am I paying?
a lot more. I know.
Yeah, I'm probably paying 80.
Yeah,
And you don't watch probably 10% of what you get, right?
If my wife came in and said, "You know what? I've been watching what we do, and I'm watching more Roku than anything. I would miss X show, but for $80 a month, I'm willing to get rid of it." It would be gone by the end of the day.
yep.
Exactly. So, I mean, that illustrates it, I think, really well.
I am at the point that I can cut the cord, and if they make it impossible to watch it on TV, I got news on the online. Take it and run with it. I mean, this all started with sports when they started doing these blackouts. People are getting used to not being able to see everything they want, and if they can save $80 a month, then it's becoming more attractive to do that.
Yeah, and frankly, in 2019, it's a whole hell of a lot easier just to steal the damn content because they don't make it affordable to watch. I mean,
I'm
that's
not
the
good
re
at that, but
no,
some
not that you have to do that, but that's the reality of what people are doing. And these companies have made it so unaffordable and unrealistic to watch any of the damn stuff they produce, then they get what they get.
you know what's interesting though, and this I don't remember, somebody and I were talking about this recently, but a lot of these original productions that Amazon, that Netflix, these guys are they're really very good.
They
They're
are.
spending some big bucks on it creating original programming. But if people can't afford it, they'll just have to punt it. I mean, I think Netflix is probably a good value if you like to watch a lot of what they carry. I mean, it's really frustrating when you go there to watch something and it's gone. They've lost the licensing on it, but that's just how it works. But I just I think that this cable TV having to pay for ESPN and all this other crap, I just if they ever went a la carte, then people would actually like their cable company. But they're never going to do that, and the reason they people don't understand, but if they're paying $6 a month to ESPN, they're charging you $8 a month. So to make it a la carte would cost them $2 a month. They're not going to do that. They can
Well, there
together.
are à la carte services available, and you realize how good of a deal you're getting when you buy 1,000 channels. Because unless you're gonna pay $1 for a channel, which you're not, the à la carte I mean, Spectrum offers an à la carte right now with their Spectrum, mobile, or the not Spectrum Mobile, their whatever they're called, Spectrum Streaming, and you wanna actually get the channels you wanna watch, you're spending more than you would on a regular cable subscription.
Yeah.
So à la carte with TV is a joke. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
I'll just tell you, I'm past it. I mean, they can have it.
yeah, so à la carte with TV, in my opinion, will never work. Because when the only way you get a good price is with a bundle. That's how it works.
Okay, I have a question, and maybe you guys can answer this. AT&T uh, Spectrum, when you get the signal to your TV on the cable, either
Mhm.
twisted pair or coax or whatever, the more people that are watching, the more bandwidth is being used, right?
Yeah, I would say
Okay.
so.
What happens with satellite?
Same thing.
Why? I mean, if a satellite is sending a signal for the Sci-Fi Channel, it's just in the air, kind of, so to speak, and everybody's tapping into it, don't they? I don't know. I'm asking.
It's an interesting question. I don't know exactly how they do their,
Does it cost them more, do you think, to
well, I
have
mean,
a
you've
No,
gotta
million?
I don't know.
no. And to answer your question, depending on so VOD, video on demand, will
Oh, yeah,
will take more bandwidth,
right. I
right? But if
understand
you're
that.
talking about broadcast signals,
Correct.
then they're multicasted, broadcasted.
Right.
So you just tap in into an already established stream.
So it's just like radio, so to speak. If you have a
So
million
to speak.
listeners
Yeah.
or one listener, you're still having a transmitter that does a certain job, and everybody is getting it from them. It's not like when you have a million, suddenly it's going to slow down. Why don't AT&T extend those uh discounts to people if they see that people are going to leave? It's
They
not
don't
like it's
believe they'll
going to
leave.
cost them. What?
They don't believe they'll leave.
Huh? I don't know. It seems people can these companies need to get into satellite or something like this that they can uh do that kind of stuff for maybe for cheaper later on. I mean, it's
What they
obviously
need to do is get a math book and start studying science, technology, engineering, and math.
yeah.
Get away from the television, quit all that mind rot.
it's I don't know. I never understood things like that, like when it was the same thing with, uh, companies or yeah, companies closing down because the workers were trying to get $15 an hour, $20 an hour, and the company couldn't pay it, and they just after a while, they told them, say, "Look, we're closing down." I always said, "Well, now you're losing your job." I would go and talk with management and say, "Okay, let's see where the money is going. Try to work something out that, all right, you don't have the money. Let's make sure that the big guys don't get a big chunk of it. We will, for now, go down, even if we're getting paid $10 an hour, let's go down to $9 or $8. At least it's something." And I'm talking about rural where it's not easy to find a job. Why don't people do this in order to keep things going until things get better? And if they don't get better, at least in the meantime, they can look for something. Not that they're not going to find anything in rural areas. It just seems like there are certain steps that can be taken by workers and by management in order to keep a company going with cooperation between the management and the workers in order to keep everybody happy. Uh, so I don't. It's the same thing here. Um, I called AT&T and T and I said, "Hey, why are you raising my price on Uverse? You weren't supposed to." And I went and looked on the site, and it showed that not only I was paying for 45 by 5, which it was about 50. That was the plan. Now I can get 75 by 5, and they advertise on their website that it's $50 a month. And when you click on it, it says that it's not just for new customers. So I called and I said, "Look, here, here, here. Look at this, look at this, look at this. What's going on? You're raising mine to 70 some, and yet here the." So they came back with $55 and I said, "Yeah, this I can take. That's fine. We'll talk later." So I don't know. Um, I need to give you something to talk about now so I can go and fix the space. Um,
I've got something.
okay, go.
So I pissed off Gal last week. All right, and I did in the
You did?
process. I did. So I bought these AirPods, which Gal said I had to rebel against Gal. I
Oh,
went
I'm
out.
so mad. I'm so mad.
Well, you tried shaming me out of them. It didn't work. So I went. So I bought these AirPods last week at Walmart. They were $130, something, 140, something like that. And they are the Gen 2 versions. It is not the wireless charging case. It's the one that you have to use the lightning connector on. So, so I picked them up last week, right after the show on Sunday. Got them home, and I guess I'll start from the beginning with it. The pair process was super simple. There actually wasn't even a pair process. You just take them out of the box, open the case up, and I had Bluetooth on already because of my watch, and it said, you know, new Apple AirPods want to set up, and you click yes, and then they're just connected. So it's pretty neat. For the way that they work is there are two individual little buds like this. There's two of them, a left and a right ear, and they've got batteries in them. But there's also this case that they come with, and the case acts as a kind of like a portable battery charger. So when you're not using the headphones, you put them in, you put them back in the case, and they charge up. And other than that, the sound quality on them is as good as I would expect from a product like this. They I did consult a couple of people before buying them, and they said as long as they fit in your ear, which is the case with any type of earbud, as long as they're comfortable in your ear, I think they're the greatest earbuds that are on the market right now. Um, and in my case, they thus far I've been using them for a week. They do fit my ear. Um, they've got touch controls on them that you can configure, so you can double tap to pause, or start, go to the next, or go back, or whatever it may be. Um, Now, Gal, some of the you mentioned that your son has a similar pair of these that were, what did you say they were, $8 or $9, something like that?
Yeah, there's some sort of knockoff, but they're larger. It fits his ear, right? So he likes them,
Mhm.
but the build quality is crap. It's not.
So
It isn't comparable.
so some of the cool things about this is it's got an auto ear detection. So, I mean, it's not that that's I don't think it's probably overly complicated, but if you're listening to something, and I typically use one earbud at a time just 'cause I people need to be able to talk to me. Um, if you pull the earbud out of your ear, it will pause whatever you're listening to.
Yeah,
And then when you put it back in, I would say 90% of the time, the playback will resume, which is really cool.
yeah.
Um, so that's I think probably a feature that is you pay the Apple tax for probably that feature, a couple of things like that.
Well,
But
I have them. I have them on these that
do
I'm
you?
wearing right now. Yeah,
So if you
but
pull those off, it'll stop?
it'll pause the media that's being
Mhm.
played.
That's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
and it'll pause the media when a phone call comes in and all that.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah,
so
has
that's a
voice
nice
voice
comfort.
activation. Yeah, but these cost even more than the earbuds.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, but
I've
look,
done
I'm all for paying a premium for a good product. I have no problem with that. It's
I,
just with Apple, it's always there's something extra.
I read
I would be really interested though to know if your earbuds work well with a non-iPhone phone.
they do, and I read some articles that say these are the best Android earbuds that you could buy for an Android phone. I read a
Okay.
couple of articles that said these are hands down the best because all of the because they're just regular Bluetooth and the buttons and whatnot will still work via Bluetooth, that people say these are the best earbuds you can get for iOS and for Android, which I thought was pretty interesting. Um,
Okay, let me ask you one question. How
yeah,
do you volume up, volume down?
you can configure it. You can set there's buttons on there's taps that you can do to configure that. It's totally your choice how you wanna do that.
Interesting.
I don't for example, I don't have volume up, volume down on it because I have my Apple Watch and I can use that for volume up, volume down. So I've got mine set to play and pause. It's a double tap. And you can configure each ear to do different things, but since I'm normally only listening with one ear at a time, I've got it configured to, um I've got it configured just to pause on each ear. But I actually talked to Mike on the phone this week from these. I don't know if you remember our conversation, Mike. I think I mentioned that I was talking on them, and you said that the audio quality on it was fine.
It was okay for you.
Um, so I did that, and that's worked out pretty well. They're neat little devices. Um, only thing interesting is carrying them around. So they're in a plastic case, and that's not a problem. But they're in the same pocket with my keys and my multi tool. And I'm afraid that the case is gonna get beaten to hell, over time. I've already got a couple little marks on it, so I guess that's just something I'll have to get over. Um, so I would say, but outside of that, because that's kind of annoying. Outside of that, I've been relatively happy with them. They get a good charge time on them, and then when you open them up near your phone, it pops up a little prompt. So both of my earbuds are at 100%. My case is at 94. So that's from whatever I was listening to last. Um, so yeah, there's just a quick little review of the Apple AirPods. All right.
Cool.
Let me see exactly how much I paid for them. They were on sale at Walmart, but you had to tell them to price check their website, which I think is still ridiculous. Um, they were $144. They for on the website. I think they were 170 in store. So these are the Gen 2 without wireless charging, just the regular charging case.
Okay.
So, if
Oh.
you have any questions, let me know.
All right, Nick, you ready to do specials?
Yeah, I can do those.
Tell me when you're there we go.
I'm ready to go. All right, so we got a Willy Wonka meme on here. The cloud computing meme, which is, oh, you're moving to cloud computing, so you're just using somebody else's computer, um, which is, I mean, it's pretty funny and probably pretty accurate. All right,
Yep.
let's get it.
Very accurate.
Let's get it started. Couple things. I think I'm going to redo this format for next week. These ads are literally the identical every week. It's the same crap. So I'm going to try to.
Sure.
I'm going to try to find a way to try to do something different with these. But let's start it off with laptops. Here is an Acer Nitro 15.6-inch gaming laptop. This is just generally a pretty good. If you need to do light video editing or anything like that, it'll work out well. It's got an i5 processor, 8 GB of memory, 256 GB solid state drive, and a GTX 1050M mobile graphics card on that. $679.99, save $50 on that. Here's an HP Pavilion. This is available at Office Max, 15.6-inch, 8 GB of RAM, 256 GB solid state drive, and then it's got the Intel Iris internal graphics for $569.99. Save $180 on that. It's available at Office Max. And over at Staples, here's a Dell with an i5. This is a big boy, 17.3-inch screen, 8 GB of RAM, and a 1 TB spinning drive. That would be my only clash against that machine. But if you need a lot of storage on the go, you'll probably have to do an upgrade yourself. Most companies aren't selling 1 TB solid states in their computers, but that's something you can do yourself. At Staples, $549.99, save $200 on that. I think this will look cool in Mike's setup here. He should get this and put it behind him. The CyberPower PC. This has got an i7 8700 processor. It's a big square and it sits on its side. Um, and it's an i7 8700. It's 16 GB of memory. It does come with, I believe it comes with a keyboard and a mouse. They both appear to be RGB, so it comes with some good peripherals.
And you have to
And
have a big disk.
yeah, and it comes with some kind of weird stand. It's got a 1660 Ti graphics card, as well as a 2 TB hard drive and a 240 gig solid state drive
Hmm.
um, for your OS. And that's $1,199.99. Save $100. Real good deal over at Best Buy for that. Here is an HP Slimline desktop, 8 GB of RAM, 1 TB hard drive, latest generation Core i3 processor, $369.99. That's available at Staples. I thought this is interesting. Here's a Chromebook for $1,000, $999, and it's just a regular. It's a Chromebook though, so it's running Chrome OS. It's not running Windows or Mac or anything like that. Got a Core i5 processor, 8 GB of memory, and a 128 GB solid state drive. The price to me seems a little steep,
Way
um,
too steep.
but it's got really good reviews and people seem to like it. So if you're into the Chrome ecosystem and you need a good computer with a good battery life, these Pixelbooks are the best Chromebooks on the market from what I've read. Um, so go ahead and check that out. It's available at Best Buy. Also at Best Buy, the Lenovo Yoga 730 2-in-1 13.3-inch touchscreen laptop. It's got a Core i5 processor, 8 GB of memory, and 128 GB SSD. And that is available for, 256 GB SSD. That's available for $699.99. And finally, for tablets all-in-ones at Staples, here is an Acer Spin, is what they call theirs. It's got the latest gen Intel Pentium processor, 64 GB of hard drive space, so it'll barely fit a copy of Windows on it. and it's got an 11.6-inch screen. Not too expensive though. 249.99 would make a good web browsing machine. That if you're looking for that. All right, let's move along to a couple of gaming peripherals, both at Best Buy. Here's the Corsair Hydro series, the H100i, which is their 120 millimeter liquid cooling setup. If you are building something new, this is a pretty good price on this. A 124.99, and Corsair makes, in my opinion, the best closed loop water cooling systems on the market. So even if you don't like this specific one, check out the H60 from Corsair. Really nice water cooling kits there. And here is the RGB Prodigy wired optical gaming mouse from Logitech, the G203, and it's available at Best Buy for $27.99. Save $12 on that. All right, taking a quick look at storage, you can get a Lexar has got 3 gigabyte flash drive, or excuse me, 3.0 USB 3.0 flash drives here. They're available in 32, 64, 128, and 256 gigabytes at Staples. You can go ahead and check those out. Different varying prices for those. A couple of WD My Passports, which is Western Digital's kind of grab and go wire, not wireless, grab and go portable hard drives. The 1 terabyte's on sale for $59, save $15, and the 4 terabyte is only $109. 4 terabytes of portable storage on a on one of these hard drives for $109, and then they've got a 2 terabyte for $69.99. Also, and that's available at Office Max. At Best Buy, the WD Blue. Uh, I don't know why they're naming their solid state drives like this, but the WD Blue 500 gigabyte solid state drive for $64.99, half a terabyte for $65. Save 35 on that. Couple of accessories. This was on the front page of Best Buy's ad, so I guess they're trying to get rid of them. Here's a 3.0 cubic foot mini fridge, stainless steel. This will look good in any computer gaming room. 124.99, save $75 on that. I assume they're trying to get these out of the door. And over at Office Depot, Office Max, labelers are always good to have. Here's a Brother P-Touch PD210 label maker. It's normally $40, so you're getting that half off at $19.99, available at Office Depot. Taking a quick look at monitors and some different types of monitors here. Here's a Samsung CF591. It's their 27-inch curved FreeSync LED monitor, which is available for $249.99. Save $20 on that. Available at Best Buy. And here's a nice Dell IPS monitor. If you're looking for that low response time, the Dell IPS is on sale for $129.99. Save $70. And that's a full 1080p monitor with it's got one VGA and one HDMI. It says outputs. I think it's supposed to say inputs on that. So
Mhm.
check that up over at Staples. Couple of printers here. The Epson Expression Premium XP 7100 all-in-one wireless printer is on sale, half price. Normally $200, on sale for $99. And that's available at Best Buy. Over at Office Depot, here's a home version of this, smaller version of the Epson Expression Home XP 4100. It's a wireless print, copy, and scanner. It'll do hold 100 sheets, and it'll do. It's also got a duplexer in it, so it'll print double sided. That's available at Office Depot for $59.99. Save $40 on that. And finally, over at Staples, a Canon Image Class MF264DW wireless mono all-in-one laser printer, $149.99. Kind of an interesting form factor with this. It's very tall, so it may fit in a narrow spot if you've got that available at Staples. Couple of home automation slash security things. Here's a set of Philips Hue, which is their smart light brand, a 3-pack of light bulbs and their starter kit, which comes with the light switch and the Philips Hue hub, which is available for $149.99. This is a really good price. Save $40 on that. If you're just wanting to get into the earliest part or some simple parts of home automation and some kind of Internet of Things devices, this is a cool way to do it. These are relatively inexpensive, and people seem to really like the Philips Hues available at Best Buy. And a Simply Safe, which is a home security monitoring system. You can get their smart wired video doorbell, which will do wireless and wired. It's available for $99, save $70 on that. And they'll do home monitoring. Simply Safe will for, I think it's $8 or $12 a month. So pretty reasonably priced on that. Also available at Best Buy. We were talking about cutting the cord, and Walmart's got a product to make this a little bit easier. They've got an HD TV, a motorized outdoor antenna. So if you're in an area where you need to maybe do a swing to get a good signal instead of fumbling around on the roof, this has got a little motor on it, and it's controllable from inside. Normally $70 for this antenna, but it's on sale for 28.98, and it's next day eligible, so they'll ship it to you next day, which is Walmart's new shipping plan. And in a lot of stores, you can get free in-store pickup. So if you're interested in that, check that out over at Walmart. Here is a Dell i5575, but it doesn't have an Intel Core processor. It's got a Ryzen 5 with 16 gigabytes of memory and a 1 terabyte spinning hard drive, on sale for $539.99, available at Walmart. Here's an i7, just the regular processor, the new i7 8700. It's the 3.7 gigahertz 6 core. It's the chipset is LGA 1151. So make sure that's compatible with your motherboard or whatever system you're building. On sale, rollback at Walmart, $349.99. This actually beats Amazon's price. So if you're gonna be building a computer, you probably don't think Walmart, but it may be the way to go. Back up to the top of the page here. This is a soundbar. I think I've got this exact model, and I know Amnon's got a larger version of this, but it's the Vizio 2-channel soundbar with Bluetooth. These are really nice sound bars, and if you've got a Vizio TV, they work really well in conjunction with each other. Normally $78, save $10. It's 68 dollars on that. Next day eligible, and in most cases, free in-store pickup. So you could just drive over to the store and pick it up. And that would go well with this is actually the lower model of the TV I have, but it's a Vizio 32-inch 720p smart TV on sale for $138. Match that with the soundbar, you'd have probably a pretty good experience with that. And finally, the WD 4 terabyte My Passport hard drive for $97.99. This beats the Office Max. I believe it was Office Max price for the 4 terabyte version of that. It's
Mhm.
$10 $12 cheaper at Walmart. So if you're specifically looking for a 4 terabyte hard drive, Western Digital My Passport at Walmart, I think is probably the best price you'll find. And that is specials.
Well, thank you, thank you, thank you. Core i7 8700 349.
It's a pretty good price.
Yeah.
That's that chipset's got a lot. There's a lot of positive things with the LGA
Mhm.
1151 chipset.
Yep, birds. All right. Um, let's see. Apple is getting more and more independent. Apple is officially acquiring Intel's smartphone modem business
Hmm.
for $1 billion. The two companies announced last week. As rumored earlier last week, the move would jumpstart the iPhone maker's push to take control of developing the critical components powering its devices. The acquisition means that Apple is now well on the way to producing its own 5G modems for its smartphones, rather than having to rely on Qualcomm for the hardware. Developing its own modems has the potential to deliver big benefits to Apple. In particular, it would no longer be subject to the patent licensing term of Qualcomm, which were the source of the two companies' lengthy legal dispute. In the past, Apple has accused Qualcomm for charging disproportionately high fees for patent royalties, which is okay. So now they don't need to do anything because $1 billion and they can do their own. Let's see what it's going to bring for iPhone. I read somewhere that there's a iPhone 11 coming up this year in a couple of months. That's hmm, I don't know. People just bought the 10. Oh, here's the 11.
They do this every year.
They don't give you a break.
I think I'll probably have to get the 11 whenever that comes out. I'm on the the borderline of a new device.
What are you on now? Which one?
I think it's the 8 Plus,
Oh, yeah.
I think.
Um. Also, this past week they were talking about that the Samsung Fold is coming out.
Oh, again? For the
They
second time?
fixed it. Yeah,
Okay.
and maybe that's the one you should get.
No, not after I just spent $150 on Apple earbuds and have a $250 Apple Watch. That
Yeah,
doesn't
but
seem
it's
like it'd be
only
the best move.
$1,900.
Oh, that's a good price. Hmm.
You
Fold.
remember hearing about the Equifax breach
Yeah.
in 2017? I'm posting a link to a website. I have no way of knowing if it's legitimate. It seems to be legitimate. That you can check to see if you were impacted, and if you were, you can get free credit monitoring for 3 years, or if you paid for credit monitoring, you can get a $125 cash payment.
Or if you have free credit monitoring through a service like Credit Karma, which you could sign up for before doing this, you can get the $150 too, and it is a legitimate website. That's
So
the
anyway, it's in
that's the
the
official site.
it said 125 on mine.
It is 125, but that's out of a so I was reading about this yesterday. There's a pool of I think $31 million that's available for that payout. So if if the people that register is smaller than the number of the pool, then the most you'll get is 125. But if there are more people register than there is money in the pool, that number will go down. So it could be up to $125 depending on how many people register.
Gee,
So it'll
Nick, you
probably
had
could
to.
end up being like $8 or something like
Yeah,
that.
you always have to ruin these things, don't you?
I'm sorry. Well, I mean, I'm sorry.
What an ass.
Yeah. So sign up for Credit Karma and then sign up for this.
Well, I
Uh,
had credit monitoring for a year, but
Oh.
it was with Dave Ramsey's recommended company, and they never would return emails, and they never could get anything right. They kept billing me for my account when I'd already paid it, and then, I mean, they were just incompetent in the way they handled it, so I canceled it.
Who was it? Was it Xander?
Yep,
Really?
yep,
That's not a
terrible,
good sign.
terrible. I
That's
mean,
his
I
company.
I got so mad, I started calling them names.
Yeah, he's a large shareholder in that company, I
Yeah,
believe.
well, he doesn't care. He's got important things to do.
Hmm.
I don't know if we were impacted or not, but there was an impact because at that point, that's when I put a freeze at the 3, and every time something there were a few occasions where they say, "Oh, you need to unfreeze it because otherwise we can't check your credit."
Okay, I don't wanna
You
hear
can,
Okay. I
yeah,
mean,
but
it's a
you can
pain. It's
you can
not it
report
doesn't
that.
cost. It doesn't cost, but it's a pain.
When you fill out that form, Amnon, it will ask if you've spent up to 10 hours dealing with the effects of this and the fact
Oh,
that
I
you
spent
said that
more
you
than
have.
10
Well,
hours.
then if you
Ugh,
document that, they'll pay you $75 an hour that you spent.
no.
So
It is such a pain, and every time you want to unfreeze it and freeze it, I mean, you have to it's like you don't do it all the time. You have to get the instructions, follow step by step, and no, it didn't work. You forgot this, or no, this is ugh, but it's all right.
get your free cash.
Yeah. Um, Any of you guys using VLC?
Yes, I am.
So, what's widespread reports of a critical security issue that supposedly impacted users of VLC media player have been debunked as completely bogus by developers. Earlier last week, German Computer Emergency Respond Team, part of the Federal Office for Information Security, pushed out an advisory warning network administrators and other users of a high impact vulnerability in VLC. It seems that this advisory can be traced back to a ticket that was opened on VLC owner VideoLAN's public bug tracker more than 4 weeks ago. The alleged heap based buffer overflow flaw was disclosed by a user named Topsec, who stated that a malicious MP4 file could be leveraged by an attacker to take control of VLC media player user device. Been debunked. So uh, if you saw this and you thought, well, when are they gonna patch it or whatever? No, it's bogus. Um, anything anybody else wants to talk about?
Yeah, the Facebook FTC issue.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, so the FTC, Federal Trade Commission, slapped Mark Zuckerberg around a little bit this week and announced a $5 billion fine for I think it was based around privacy and some of the issues they've got or had with allowing third party ad services to literally see all of your information.
Mhm.
And a lot has to do with that Cambridge Analytics, which was a big talking point for the 2016 election. But according to the FTC, they just weren't doing their job when it comes to privacy, and now they've got to pay this fine. I don't. I mean, are they? I don't know if they actually are required to pay the fine. Mike, do you have any insight? If the FTC fines them. Is there any negotiation? Is there any leeway, or is it just $5 billion? You pay it, or we come after you. How does that
You
work?
always appeal it. You can always take it to court and so forth. I mean, they'll make a career out of it, and they say this is part of the company that these these Googles and Apples and Facebooks, they're all so big that the a lot of the government agencies are afraid of them.
Hmm.
But there was also on the same thing. The FTC also said that in the future, if there's anything that has to do with violation of privacy and all that, they will hold him personally uh, responsible. It seems like I read something about that. But I mean, in my opinion, it's a drop in the bucket of Facebook, and they can do it and put it behind them, kind of. If it keeps on going and people keep talking about it, the only thing I can see is that it's going to hurt them. We'll see.
Yeah, but paying a fine is also admitting taking responsibility.
Oh, they already did.
Uh,
They did say that. Yeah, we screwed up and we're going to fix it. Didn't they?
Hmm?
Not in so many words.
Oh,
They just said they are concerned about the privacy of their users. That's the words that they actually use, which means nothing, right?
Right. I
So,
mean, that's like you get voicemail when you call a company. Thank you for holding. Your call
yeah,
is important to us.
right. So I don't
well,
think I've ever heard a large company, even the ones that we trust, right, come up and say, "Hey, we screwed up, and now we're gonna fix it."
all
We
right. Well,
are always trying to improve. That part you do here, right? But it's never owning the mistake of the past.
I thought
And
that.
I think that's like part of what the strategy from a lawyer would be, right? never own. Mike, keep me honest here.
No, that's not true. A lawyer, if a lawyer makes a mistake, the good ones will say, "I screwed up. Here's the number of my malpractice carrier," and they'll negotiate a reasonable settlement with you. What you don't want to do, and what a lawyer would advise you not to do, is don't go throw yourself on the sword when you don't understand all the legal ramifications.
Right.
And that is that if you walk into the police department and you confess to doing something, did you just confess to first degree murder, second degree murder, manslaughter, negligent homicide? Do you know which one you just confessed to?
Of
Probably
course
not.
not.
So you should have a lawyer say, well, here are the elements for each one. And whereas this person is dead, you didn't mean to do it. That knocks out first degree. Where the second degree, I mean, all these things, you don't just go throw yourself on the sword and say, I didn't do it. You need to, if you're going to admit to it, whether you're an individual, a company, whomever, you need to do it intelligently.
Yep.
Oh, all right. So there's always two sides.
No, I mean,
And
people like to pick on lawyers and a lot of them deserve it. But I will tell you that it's sad that, um, there are so many attorneys who work their butts off to help people for free, and you never hear about that. I have a friend who's a lawyer in Washington, D.C. He makes $1,500 an hour, and as part of his pro bono service, he spent something like 20 hours working to help a lady get her Social Security benefits. He said it was a really, really sad case because if anybody's entitled, she was. And he spent like 20 hours working on it with a very high power law firm and was successful getting it for her. It was really funny because it would come out cheaper if he'd just paid her.
for the rest of her life.
Yeah. No, I mean, you do what's right. I
Yeah.
mean, it didn't reduce the amount of work that he had to do. That just increased the amount of work he had to do on his own time.
All right. Here's a piece of information for especially for parents and for those who believe in conspiracy. Screen time and social media in particular is linked to an increase in depressive symptoms in teenagers. According to a new study by researchers at Montreal St. Justin Hospital, the researchers studied the behavior of over 3,800 young people from 2012 until 2018. They recruited adolescents from 31 Montreal schools and followed their behavior from grade 7 until grade 11. The teenagers self reported the number of hours per week that they consumed social media, such as Facebook and Instagram, video games, and television. Conrad and her team found an increase in depressive symptoms when the adolescents were consuming social media and television. It was published on Monday by JMA Pediatrics, a journal published by the American Medical Association. So they're saying that there is depression when you do it for a long time. That's something I never heard that before. Depression. It's not
Depression for what?
that you're gonna go kill somebody. It's depression. What what did you say?
You're getting depression from what? Long times in front of the screen?
From screen time.
Oh, that explains all my problems. Jeez.
Yeah, that,
Oh, I mean,
That explains all of it.
it's depression. One of the very uh, most uh, sorry, lost in translation. Give me a sec. One of the things that push depression, and first of all, the symptoms they need to be the problem, the disease already needs to be there. It's not like it creates depression. But anyone who is prone to depression, right, isolation will push them further into it. So playing video games is sort of, especially today with online gaming, where you have the illusion of communicating with other people, right? But in effect, you are isolating yourself from the real world. So I can see that happening. I can see it. I can see it in my kid when he starts playing, uh, starts a day of of a vacation, and he's constantly online gaming.
Mhm.
The day starts rather pleasant and and competitive, and he's enjoying the game, right? And when he passes the threshold of a few hours, and I'm looking at it and I'm saying the toxicity level goes so high, and this he's speaking with the people he knows personally, right?
Mhm.
He's not playing with random online people. So, and the toxicity level goes so high, and it goes high on both ends, because I talked with you know with the other family as well. I mean, this is something that is clearly evident, right? That this isn't normal face-to-face interaction. I think it makes a lot of sense that depression is a key factor for long term isolation in general, and video game is just another form of it.
Well,
Well,
go ahead.
I have a little different take on it. I think that without getting too deep into why I think it, I think a lot of people confuse depression with sadness and disappointment and
Right,
frustration. They're
right.
not
I'm
all.
not talking about that. Yeah,
Well, I know, but I'm saying it's just like you say that you look at all these kids that are being treated for ADD, 80% of them don't have it. They're sleep deprived. But there are those who do have it, and the medications for it are excellent and give them their lives back. But it's a convenient diagnosis. I mean, like Nick. I mean, it's you try to figure out what's wrong and you come up with a pill and you hope it'll fix it. But the reality is that the kids get involved in these video games, and of course, they cause you to commit murder. Nick knows that, and
Yeah, I'm a multi-time offender of murder. Yeah.
but what happens is they I mean, I'm making this up because every kid's different, but they stop playing the game and then they realize that the real world is not as much fun, so they get disappointed or sad about it, and they say, "I'm depressed." Well, they're probably not really depressed. Depression is actually a very serious clinical diagnosis, and you really would not want to go to a psychiatrist and get that diagnosis because it can go on your medical record and it can work against you for life. The counter side of that is that if you really are clinically depressed and if there's help for it, you'd be cheating yourself not to get it.
I think you brought up a good point. Sadness and disappointment also, I think in a lot of times is absolutely, uh,
Confused with
confused with
depression.
depression. I mean, I
Right.
think, but I by myself, disappointment is sadness are common, things that you feel from time to time. That doesn't mean you're clinically depressed.
No, I've kind of studied this a little bit, and so clinically, I mean, if I'm talking with a psychiatrist who knows what he or she's talking about, which is rare, but if I were to talk with one, they probably would shoot holes in what I'm saying. But in my opinion, if you can tell me why you're quote unquote depressed, if you can put your finger on it, I don't think you're depressed. I think you're disappointed, you're
yeah.
sad, frustrated. But if you say, I don't know, I just want to kill myself because life sucks. Why? Because you have a nice house. Why? Because this. Why? Because I think those are external stimuli that probably can be dealt with.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm unhappy at work, so I'm sad does
And
not
you
mean
and you
No,
automatically say,
that's
I'm
not
depressed.
depression. Yeah,
no, but I think in
yeah,
a lot of cases it's core because God, there was an article that Amnon sent me yesterday, and it talked about toxicity online, and it talked about depression, and I I don't know, I think there's I think that term depression is like
Miss
people like to throw it around. I
Yeah.
mean, I personally, I'm a little upset with what's going on at work. That doesn't mean I'm clinically depressed and I'm gonna go take a
of course
hair off a
not.
building.
Oh,
But I
Of
think in
course
a lot
not.
of cases, people would say, "Oh, look at you. You're maybe upset with work and you're playing video games a lot. Oh, you're depressed. Go see a doctor. Go get all screwed up on meds." And I don't know. That's not always the case. But
Right,
no,
but
but
that's
no,
not.
it's funny that you say that same thing because I noticed it yesterday. I played video games all day yesterday, and then when I went to bed last night, I was in a awful mood. I was miserable when I went to bed last night. No particular reason.
Well,
No particular reason. Nothing happened that was like, "Oh, I'm pissed off." It was just I was just in a terrible mood last night. Woke up
yeah.
this morning, I'm fine.
Yeah, I can get that. I mean, first of all, it really depends how long the stretches are. Just think of a long day at work, right?
Yeah, what's
Uh,
that?
I mean, when you finish a very long day at work, if you were not productive, right? If you were just, I don't know, hanging out, slobbing, and didn't advance anything substantial. And I'm not talking about the tasks that you were allotted by someone else. I'm talking, the tasks that are substantial to you to perform at work, that fulfill you. And if you don't have those, hey man, look for another work, line of work. But if if you don't have that, right, then you go back home empty. And I think it's the same thing. Now, when you're talking about depression, about how people describe it, you're completely right. Most of depression is a word that is highly misused. But in that particular article, they are talking specifically about depression symptoms, right? They're talking about um, the people who look at the data are talking about what is clinically described as depression. I'm not saying that that makes it completely accurate, but I'm saying it makes a lot of sense, and not in the term of just bummed by the world. No, it it's depression has its uh, uh, its roots in a. I mean, the funniest thing about depression, right, is that describing depression to a non-depressed person is almost impossible, right? And these are the people that eventually need to treat the depressed, people who are not there. So
I would argue that someone who is quote unquote depressed about their job, if they change jobs and go to a company like you did, that's a good company that you really like and you're enjoying, all of a sudden you're not depressed. You weren't depressed before. You were
I
unhappy.
agree.
You were sad.
I agree.
But again, people who aren't trained to look at these things don't think about. They're saying it's a matter of semantics, and to a great degree, it's true. Because all I'm saying is that a lot of people like to, in my observation, like to use the word depression to suggest clinical depression when in fact it really is not clinical depression. It is a lesser form of depression, which is a valid description. I just think that a lot of people, I think the danger is, and I've seen this with several people, Nick, several people that they get sad or unhappy and they say, well, I'm depressed. Now they think they need to go to a psychiatrist and get drugs when in
Yeah, but the
fact they're
moment they'll
sad
go to a psychiatrist, the psychiatrist's job, right,
just to
is
give
to
drugs.
no, is to tell them to first diagnose whether they are truly depressed or not, not just give drugs. Come on.
I'm
I mean,
telling you, don't get me started. I'll tell you some things offline I've
I'm
seen.
oh, I agree. There are a lot of hacks. That has nothing
No,
to do with that.
no, I will talk offline. Because I mean, I just the only reason I'm even interested in this is because I have a good friend who's a doctor, been a friend of mine 15 years, and he was telling me about mental issues that all doctors have to be trained for, and it's just ever since he told me that I've been watching things and news stories and all sorts of things, and it's a fascinating area of medicine. I will tell you right now. And
I met
anyway,
depression through people who who were dealing with depression, still dealing with it, right? And I learned
clinical,
about it.
clinical depression.
Clinical, yeah.
Yeah.
And I learned about it from them.
Yep.
I've never I've misused depression, right, or heard it misused tons of time until I learned to identify, at least when the speech at least is correct, right? When the word is used correctly. But to say that I understand depression, hell no. Uh,
Well, no,
and
the
I'm
thing
lucky in that way, right?
psychiatrists don't either is my point.
Right.
And I don't either because I don't think I know anyone who is clinically depressed. I don't. I mean, a lot of people are depressed and unhappy about things. I mean, particularly those with Trump derangement syndrome. I mean, they're suicidal. But the point that I'm saying is I can't think of. I mean, I think about it a little bit, but I can't think of anyone I know personally who would probably qualify as clinically depressed. I mean, everybody I know is unhappy. I mean, Nick's miserable. Amnon's happy. I mean, Amnon's not depressed.
I'm always happy.
Yeah, I mean,
It's funny. Everybody Mike's knows is
That is
miserable.
a symptom of depression.
I wonder what the cause is there. What do you think, Mike?
probably you, Nick. I introduced
Everybody that Mike's knows is miserable. I wonder what the
you.
problem
I introduced them to you, and this is what happens.
is. Okay.
I mean,
Well,
that's
Mike
depressing.
and Amnon, first of all, being happy all the time is a clear sign of depression.
Depression, yeah.
Maybe
You just
Amnon's been
became a
living a
registered
facade.
Democrat. That's like that all this ice is caused by global warming.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All
Maybe
right.
Amnon, I need to cut myself out from Amnon. Gal, thank you for your insight. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you next week.
That's a new show on the Nissan Communications.
Amnon's
An hour with
depressed.
Paul.
No. Hour with Gal.
Ooh,
All right, guys. It's that
poor
time of day.
listener.
Anything else anybody wants to bring up? No. Okay. Well, thanks, Nick. Thanks, Gal, Mike. And good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie, and Donna. Thanks, everybody, for tuning into Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember, practice safe computing. Back up your hard drive, update your virus scanner. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9. But you can always reach us, Computers 2K Now. Computers2know.com. Tonight at 7, Nick Craig hosts Against the Norm. And at 9, Mike Phillips hosts The Crypto Culture Show. Both these shows are on Wilmington's Big Talker 106.7 FM. And you can listen to it on TuneIn, when if you're anywhere outside the immediate Wilmington area. See you next week.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.